What are the types of dossiers? CTD, ECTD. ECTD is the electronic submissions of the dossiers. ACTD is accepted in Asian countries. Asian countries means your Singapore, Malaysia, all those countries. It is similar to CTD, only in CTD, ECTD, you have module 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here there are part 1, part 2 kind of thing. Then the country specific contract. Here the non-regulated countries, they have their own checklist or the format by which you have to give. Sometimes it is not a CTD, sometimes it is similar to CTD but has some a little less information. I think CTD structure. And visual information where there is a product labeling, artwork, and other things. You know what is artwork? Artwork is what what you have the packet of the carton or something, like you have a strip is in a carton. Then this carton becomes your the design and other things becomes your artwork. And it is then there is a leaflet inside the things along with the strip. On the strip also there are multiple information is written. You see the composition, what is the expiry date, and all those things are artwork and labeling. This is also very important. Any change in the artwork also leads to the variations. Okay. Design change sometimes not, but if you change the designs, it depends what kind of change you want to put. Then module 2 is the summaries. All the summaries are your quality overall summary, non-clinical overviews, clinical overviews, and expert reports. Module 3 we'll have a CMC section. It contains two sections, the drug substance and the finished products. Module 4 becomes your non-clinical study reports, and module 5 is the clinical study reports. So basically, dossiers in industry practice. There are generally three kind of things you do. You are new registration if you are innovator company and you are making some new registrations. Then your emphasis is more on module 4 and 5 clinical data and other things. You must prove the new molecule safety and efficacy. If you are a generic companies, then your module 3 has to be strong. It doesn't mean that in the innovator company module 3 is not strong. But if you are a generic one, your more focus is on module 3. Module 5, you have to do the PE studies, not the clinical studies. Regulatory authorities verifies the generic is equivalent to the innovator. Then there is a lifetime management. That means dossier is not a one-time activity. It is updated continuously through the variations, renewals, and extensions. So this is just one representation. What was the old days? I am working in JB from past 16 years. So when I started my thing, I used to make dossiers for some ROW countries where I used to make 4 or 5 files of a single thing. One will go to one place, three copies of everything. Then if I prepare a one dossier, a bunch of files will be there. That is a 16 years back, but now it's a paper list. Everywhere we have to submit only the thing. Before that, my boss used to tell me when they file JB chemicals files first, was FDA, ANDA of ciprofloxacin. It was like a trolley. The 11 copies of ANDA and each copy maybe of 4, 5, 6 files, because it used to go to the different department, bioequivalence department, CMC department and all. So it used to go in a trolley. You have to drag and all and get the dossier. So when I joined, that was not the case, but still now it is almost paperless. It is hardly we have to give some countries the hard copies. So marketing authorization application is just a dossier. It is the when you apply or submit it as an application, it is your marketing authorization applications. and MA holder is the one who holds that DMF. Means I am as a unique pharmaceutical JB Chemicals, if I submit a dose of paracetamol tablet, I am a MA holder. Sometimes um, I am a MA holder, but I am manufacturing it from some other company. Then the product is mine. I have to ensure the quality, but I will not manufacture it. So that company becomes a manufacturer, but I am the owner. So the marketing authorization application is the formal request submitted to the regulatory authorities seeking the approval to market the pharmaceutical product in a specific country and jurisdiction. It contains the comprehensive scientific, technical and administrative data. In USA it is called as a NDA or NDA. In Europe it is called as a MAA. In India it is your product permission or new drug import registration process. So again, it is a bit of repetition maybe. Full standalone application. This is for the new, everything new. Like based on the complete data, quality, non-clinical for new chemical entities or the innovator products. Example, an innovator company is submitting a oncology molecule, new oncology molecule to the first time to the EU or India. It becomes a full standalone application. So you have to generate all the data and submit to the authorities. Then there is a generic or abbreviated applications. So it relies on the innovator data. Innovator has done the clinical studies. I don't have to repeat it. Okay. Basically, I just have to do the PE studies. Example, atorvastatin generic tablet submitted by India in USA or generic applications in EU. Hybrid application is the combination of new and generic. So combination of original data plus reference to the existing products. It is used for the new dosage from stents and routes. Suppose I have a 10 mg tablet and I want to do a 5 mg tablet now in the market, bring the 5 mg tablet in the market. I don't have to generate everything, right? I just have to do some CMC data on that. So the nasal spray formulations of the existing antihistamine. So that become a hybrid product. Then the well-established use of the bibliographic applications. So it is based on all the published data. Your Ayurvedic products and all these Australia, New Zealand, there is a reference listed product or the listed products or complementary products. The registration process is not big because everything is so very well established. You just have to do those references of the beginning. Like if you have to file the paracetamol tablet, then nobody will ask you much data. Your CMC data is enough for that. Then the biosimilar applications, which is for the biological products. What are the regulatory pathways in USA? So NDA, the new drug applications. I think it must be very clear for you. It is a full quality data, preclinical, clinical, what. These are the sections in USFDA 505, 505A, B. If it is a full NDA, it is 505B1. If it is a hybrid one, it is B2. Okay. General timelines of USFDA NDA approvals is now 10 months. Priority review is 6 months. ANDA, again, it is just a bioequivalent studies. Okay. Yes. What does it contain? Reference products. Okay. Purple book. Is there purple book? Yes or no? Yes. Who said yes? So oral book is officially titled Approved Drug Product with a Therapeutic Equivalence Evaluation. It is published and maintained by US FDA. It is one of the most important regulatory reference for the pharmaceutical industry, healthcare providers, and the regulatory professionals. Its purpose is to provide the list of products which are approved in the FDA based on safety and effectiveness. It indicates Which drug product are considered therapeutically equivalent? There is a list, there are the columns where they give whether they are therapeutically equivalent or not. To serve as a key reference in the generic drug approvals. It contains approved drug product, it contains the therapeutic equivalence codes, reference listed drugs are included, and patent exclusivity information is also part of this. Then this is the BLA, this is for the biological license applications. Okay, this is for the biological products like your COVID-19 vaccine. It is approved by this kind of approvals. Then the biosimilar pathway is 351 key. And this is a purple book. So, orange book covers the small molecules, drugs and generics, that is basically for ANDA, whereas purple book it covers a large molecule for biologics and biosimilars. For that it is there. So orange book indicates the therapeutic equivalence code, whereas purple book includes the biosimilarity and interchangeability. Then there is the over-the-counter products also, like your menthol lozenges or your some cough and cold medicines, which are very well known in other things. They are into by the over-the-counter pathways. Here, manufacturing site has to generate all the data what is required for the ANDA, but similar to ANDA, but you don't have to file any submission to the authorities. If the authorities come to your site, you need to show that. But there is no filing. But manufacturers needs to ensure that you have all that data present with you. It is for the well-established OTC drugs. PUFA. Okay. It's an expensive matter. Okay. So other key regulatory procedures in acts. So from 2012, this GDUFA came into picture. Okay. GDUFA, it is a generic drug user fee amendment. So whenever you submit any ANDA or anything, you have to pay a fees to the US FDA for the review. Okay. So GDUFA is basically for the generic products. When the GDUFA started, it gave you the timeline for the US FDA for approval. They have to approve your drug within 10 months. Otherwise, it used to be 1 year, 2 years. The process was quite long. What these things did, the purpose is applicant and sponsors, they pay the user fee to the authorities. So FDA uses these funds to speed up. They allocate the people in their department so that the review process is faster. Okay, speed up the ANDA reviews and the reduce backlog. Okay, this gives you the more predictable timeline. So this question comes to us: what is the goal date? Goal date is what? When you expect your approval is expected, so that my marketing team gears up for the production. Okay, they give the generates the purchase orders, they give it to site start ordering the materials and all, because everything has their own lead time. PDUFA is for the NDA is and BLAs. BSUFA is for the biosimilars, and OMOFA is the OTC drug products. OTC products also you have to pay this fee. So this is just a comparison. Every year this fees changes. Okay, now it is around 3.21 crore. In 2026 it is expected 3.58 crore. Okay, so financial year 2026 applies from October 1st, 1st October 2025. So most of the companies, what happens in that October, September, August, September, all the India team is very active. I have to submit my thing, otherwise I have to pay more. Okay, so there is a lot of pressure in that particular period in the regulatory team, because we have to save the money. So if you see, the fees is going to be like this. So for the DMF also, 95, so now it is becoming 1 crore. So why this is also important? When you select the API vendor for the development, you need to check in that the vendor has paid the Judifa fee. If the vendor has not paid the Judifa fee and you have selected that vendor, your application will be refused. This is the program fees. Okay, this is when you submit the NDA or DMF, but this is the program fees. Like if I have a NDAs, my company have a NDA 20 plus NDAs I have, then my charges are this. But if my I'm a medium size company, 6 to 19, then my fees is this. And if it is a below, I'm a small size organization, 1 to 8 years, my fees is this. So even this happens. Like I have a 19 ANDAs and next year my fees will be almost very high. So it also happens that sometimes the companies take a strategic decision and they ballpark their few ANDAs to the other company. Like all the rights are with me, but I ballpark my company to my NDS, few NDS to the other company who may be my distributors in the USA and all. So, so next. Hello. 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 Yeah. So this is the facility fee. So apart from ANDA, DMA program fee, additionally you have to pay a facility fee. Just imagine what is the domestic APIs on the manufacturing companies in the USA, foreign APIs like we, like anything else other than USA. Domestic CMO is the contract manufacturing organization. Okay. Apart from these, means it is very important that there are two criteria in NDAs like refuse to file and refusal is applicable basically for NDAs and BLA. The mark, then they straight away refuse to receive. So you will pay this fee, and after 6 months, if they USFDA say that your product or the dossier is not good, your fee is gone. Okay, not fully, but partially, but again that amount goes in crore. So the team has to be very critical what document you are doing and all. It may not be a great mistake, just an application form without signature. That also will lead to the refusal. Or the API vendor has not paid the fees, that also will lead to the refusal. Okay. So this is refused to file is for the NDA and BLAs. So applies the new drug applications, biological license applications. FDA does an initial filing review in first 60 days. If a critical elements are missing, FDA issues this letter. So missing some studies or inadequate stability data and all. Refuse to receive is for ANDAs and DMF. So again, here FDA conducts a filing review for the completeness and information is grossly inadequate, FDA issues the letter. Like deficiency in these studies, DMF fees is not paid or poorly organized ECTD structure. So these are the guidances I have marked here in the things which will give you the documents for that. So it is just a checklist. Any of the company normally keep a checklist as per those. So okay, this is not done. So whenever we get the acceptance for review, we are very happy. Why it matters? ITF, ITR, it delays the product launch. Okay? When if you get any kind of a refusal, it delays your product launches, affecting access to market and return on investment. It increases the cost, like user fee may need to be repeat or duplication of work. And if you just imagine that October month, huh? Regulatory teams must have a robust pre-submission quality check to avoid such refusals. Let's go ahead with EU. So in EU, basically there are centralized procedure, decentralized procedure, mutual recognitions, and national procedures. Okay, so what is centralized procedure? It is for the biotech products, orphan medicine, advanced therapies and oncologies, new active substances. How it works is the single dossier is submitted to the EMEA, that is European Medicinal Agency. Okay. Scientific evaluation is performed by this committee, CHMP. This CHMP prepares an opinion whether it is positive or negative. So, for example, let's see there are 27 European countries. One of the country will review. Scientific evaluation will be done. Okay. European Commissions make a final decision which is legally binding to all 27 countries and EEA countries. Okay. That is EEA is European Economic Area. Companies receive the single EU-wide marketing authorization instead of multiple national ones. So this will give you the access to all 27 countries and EEA countries. Generally, the timeline is 210 days. Examples were like COVID-19 vaccine. It is evaluated centrally to uniform approval across all EU countries. Now this is the decentralized procedure. So decentralized procedure is basically for the product which are not authorized in any of the EU member state at this present. Okay, suitable for generic and well-established product. So here what is done? You have to select one reference member state. The applicant selects the EU country which will act as a lead reviewer. You have to submit this dossier to this reference member state and all the CMS, which is plus all the concerned member states. Simultaneously, you have to submit to all the countries. But only the reference member state will review your dossier and they will prepare an assessment report. Once they prepare an assessment report, they will give to the concerned member state and they arrive on the consensus. The product gets approval in all the chosen countries almost at the same time. Then there is a national phase where each EU state will issue the marketing authorization. So in the decentralized procedure, there is one reference member state and other is this. One will review, they will take the concern of all other things, but you will get the approval for all the countries at the same time. In the mutual recognition phase, first you will apply to the reference member state, okay? And then when you separately apply to the other concerned states, and then those concerned states will go to the reference state and get the assessment report, ask for the assessment reports. So here you get, if acceptable, each country will give you the different certificates. National procedure is that whenever I don't want to launch my product in all EU states, I just want to launch in Germany or any other thing. So I will just apply in that France. I will only apply in France. I don't want to go in any other country. So I will go by national procedure. After 5 years, if I have to launch in any other country, again I will go to that country and start the process. So life cycle. Hello. Life cycle management. Is it clear so far? Any questions? Anything you want me to clarify further? Okay. Life cycle management is what is, as I said, there are multiple things. Once your product is registered, there are like annually, in USA it is called as an annual update. So every year, whatever changes you do throughout the that 1 year through the change controls and anything, you have to update it annually. It is not that any change is allowed to do in the annual update. So there is a guidance which changes are annual updatable. So if your changes are within those criteria, you can do the annual update. Otherwise, you have to do the variations. So this is particularly mainly for USA annual updates. In EU and other countries, there is nothing like an annual update, but every year you have to submit your PSUR update has to be sent. In certain countries, there is a renewal. As I said, it is mainly for the 5 years the product is approved. So in USA, there is no renewal or but in EU, yes, there is a renewal process. Then the variation changes. There are different types of variations. In EU, the variations are categorized as type 1A, 1B, type 2 variations. Whereas in USA, they are type CB0, CBE is change being effective. Okay, CBE0, CBE30 pass. CBE0 means I have done a CBE0 applications, means from that day, 0 day I can start changing this. CBE30 is I have to wait for 30 days. If within 30 days I don't get any feedback from FDA, I can use them. If the FDA has any problem, then they will come back. Pass is the pre-approval submissions. Okay, so which are critical variations go through the pass. Also in USA there is a procedure for a control correspondence. So if what is control correspondence is that if you have you're not clear about what kind of variation you should do or these particular things will need what kind of a data, you can do a control correspondence to the authorities. So broadly, there are 3 to 4 types of variations. That is a major or significant changes. So major changes are one which will have an impact on your quality and safety. In USA, it is called as a PAS, pre-approval submission, whereas in EU and any other countries, it is type 2 variation. So type 2 variations are the major variations, where I cannot implement that things at a site unless and until I get the approval from site. Like I've started my new facility and I have to change the manufacturing site from this site to that site. So that becomes a major variation. Moderate changes as type moderate to minor changes are type 1A, and that is a CB0 kind of thing. Intermediate to moderate become a type 1B. So type 1A, if you see, so it is generally, it is like you implement and you can inform to the authorities anytime between the year. Okay, those changes are generally a type 1A kind of variations. Like your pharmacopoeial updates you are doing and you have to inform, it is that kind of. Intermediates or moderate changes is 1B. So 1B is like, it's a moderate change, but you have to take approval from the authorities before you implement it. If you remember, I gave you the example of the batch size variation. So regulatory people has to very critically evaluate the change. Like if my batch size is within tenfold, then it is a minor variation. But if it goes beyond tenfold, it is the major variation. Moderate variation. So why it is moderate? How it is in fact? Suppose I am changing the. See, if any kind of a variation, you have to give the data which is part of your CTC, like your process validation, your stability, and everything. So imagine that if I just change the batch size by tenfold, and if I evaluate it as a major change, then I have to generate the 3 batch data, do the process validation, keep it on the stability, and I have to wait for my approval. Okay, that means those 3 batches are lost. You can't commercialize them, right? So all that money goes waste. But here the evaluation of the regulatory person is very important. That okay, it is a tenfold, there is a less risk. You can, it's a minor variation as per the guidance. So you can manufacture, you can commercialize within a year, you can apply. Or sometimes a strategic decision can be taken. Okay, I will manufacture, immediately submit this variation. I get approval. By the time I get a formal approval, generally within a month you get the approval for the type 1A variation. So by that time the batch is manufactured, released and I can. So here the you are giving the strategic information to the company how to save the money. Okay. For example, CP variation. In between it happened. One of our API vendor, which was very important, there was a fire incident in that company. So he stopped manufacturing. So what can we do? We cannot stop the production or commercialization, and it will have an impact on the commercial. So we have identified a CP grade vendor. Okay. So that if it is a CP grade vendor, you have to of course do the kind of analytical validations and all, but it becomes a type 1A immediate notifications kind of thing. So that will ensure your interrupted supply also. But if it would have been a DMF grade vendor, then it would have been a type 2 variation. Okay. So then you have to generate the data, generate the stability 6 months. You have to wait for that. You cannot. Then you will apply, and then 6 months of approval. So 1 year there will be a commercial loss. So these are certain variations like labeling variation changes, manufacturing site changes, analytical specification changes, dosage form changes, and all. So these labeling changes and all, one of the important role of the regulatory is not only submit the dossiers, but the commercial support is also very important. For example, I have some labeling variation. That means there is some safety concern in some country. Because of that, suppose health authority asked me to update my label or leaflet. Okay, I have done that variation and I got approval. But my supply team, they don't want to, they want everything fast. They have already ordered lots of leaflets for the commercial orders. Okay, so if the manufacturing side by mistake use the old leaflet instead of the new one, there will be an entire shipment will be returned back. So whenever there is any kind of a approval, regulatory team has to, have the close coordination with the site. There is called as a BOM, like bill of material. It is for finished product as well as the packaging material. So what does it contain basically in any of the industry? Bill of material is what all things are required to manufacture the particular product. Say my paracetamol, then this ingredient, this, that, whatever there is in your formula. Then your basic lubricant or everything. So everything quantity is fixed. Similarly, for the packaging also there is another BOM, that is a bill of material. Like my carton, leaflets, strips, foils and other things. Even the cartons I put in another shipper, I have to put this what I say, tape to it, to pack it, all those things is part of bill of material. So whenever there is any changes, you have to inform to the concerned department immediately, so they will lock that box so that new order doesn't get placed. Okay. So all these things also you have to coordinate along with the submissions and other things. So that also sometimes there is a grace period. Like it's not like that I get a approval immediately I have to implement it. There is a grace period of suppose 6 months or something. Till the 6 months period, you have to consume your, you can use, you have that a provision to use do manufacture as per the earlier approval. So it is there for country to country it changes. Sometimes the some countries doesn't accept that. So in that case, the regulatory team needs to work very closely with that supply team. The moment you submit the variation, you have to keep inform the site supply team that okay, I have filed this variation. I am expecting a approval in next 6 months or 3 months. So you have to ensure that your supply or the procurement what you are doing, it should not more than this particular time. I think this should be clear. So this I have taken from ICHQ 12. So what is established conditions? Um, so legally binding manufacturing control elements to ensure the product quality. So any changes in this established, so see any we have two things. One is the established conditions and one is the supporting data. For example, my manufacturing formula is my established condition. If I change my manufacturing formula, I have to file a variation. But the supporting document will become a product development report, okay, or a process validation. So the established conditions changes like specifications become your established conditions. Validations become your supportive. So just changing a validation does not need the variations. Okay. But if you change the established conditions, you need to submit the variations. Even this is from ICHQ 12. So what is knowledge management? So during overall life of the product, 13 minutes more. Okay. So overall life of the product. Okay. There are certain kind of a process product performance review you do. Okay. You do the PR like a product quality review every year. You have to do that. Past changes, some changes you are doing, you implement those changes. Then you do some development or co-development activities you do. Or some management review is there, or CAPA is there. CAPA is corrective preventive actions, what NCs you get from the audit. So all these generates all knowledge about the products. Okay? This knowledge stimulates for a change. Okay? Then we have to do a change evaluation. This change evaluation is the science and risk based, and it will determine after what kind of a data you need for this change. Okay. So here you do internal change approvals. First you have to internally within the company you have to approve or accept that change. This is the internal company process. So this blue area is the internal company process. If okay, after this approval, you implement the change. Fine. If prior approval is required before implementation in the company, you have to go to the regulatory process. If the regulatory approves it, you have to implement the change. If the prior approval is not required, means it is not a major change, then you implement the change and then you notify the authorities. Okay? Before change or after change. Before change when it is a type 1A variation, after change when it is a type 1B variations. Okay? So this is what is the established conditions comes here. So which will depend what kind of variation is it. And once you implement the change, the cycles keeps on happening at the regular frequency. I can go this fast. This challenges in harmonizing the doser across multiple. So it is always a vision of any company that once I develop a product, I should be able to launch in all the countries. It is always a very it's a dream, but it is very difficult. What are the key challenges for this? Regional variations in the requirement. Okay, module 1 requirements are different, like US FDA wants USDMF, EU want COP grade or ASMF. Okay, Asian countries want additional data, different stability zones. Then there is a different pharmacopoeial standards, USP standards. I have done everything using USP reference standards. If I have to go for USP, Europe, I have to use the European reference standards. So this impacts the country prepared. QC must validate the methods as per USP, EP, they have to validate the methods. Then stability data expectations are also different. Like generally, in USA, the tablets was in the HDPE bottles. The people think, oh wow, I have a ANDA, I can use this data to any of the country and ROW country, and I will start manufacturing it. But if at the time of development you have not kept your product in the blisters, because in the ROW or India you don't get the bottle unless except the Ayurvedic products you get in the bottles, otherwise everything is strips. So, if it is a global development and all, lot of stability needs to be generated at the initial stage. You have to identify the markets where you want, because it is not easy. Doing everything is very good, but it involves the cost also, right? Your stability protocol should be built at the initial stage if you want to do it globally. Then you have to consider all these factors. Bioequivalence studies, like there are certain countries who accept biowaiver. It's a very big topic. I may not able to cover that today. But the US has their own, as you said, so the orange book, purple book, they have their own innovators. So you have to have a case study against that. Europe, there is the EU reference standard. You have to use EU reference standards. Then some countries like Russia, they will not accept any of the bio studies in other countries. They have to You have to do the studies in the Russian population. So we have to do the clinical trial. There are certain countries who accept the global R&Ds also, but the main countries don't accept. Again, labeling and packaging. Like every countries have their own requirements to put on the label. Sometimes the languages are different. Russian countries need the languages in their own language. Sometimes the leaflets and other things are bilingual. So that happens. Arabic countries need Arabic references. You have to, for example, I head the Russia sales division, so all my dossiers when I prepare, I have to convert. Variations we have covered. So this also happens. Different country categorize and variations different way. Small countries generally, if the variations, if the company does any variations, we can say that okay, this we will notify or include in the at the time of the language I spoke. Okay. The way there is a harmonization with respect to dossiers and all, there is a harmonization with respect to quality also. So as you all must be knowing what is ICH. Okay. Uh, what is the importance of the ICH is it's a global harmonization. Okay. It ensures your drug development registration quality standards are consistent across all the markets. Facilitates the mutual recognition of the data. Means generally, if you don't know what standards, how should I set the standards or anything, you should refer ICH guidelines. Regulatory efficiency. It reduces the duplicate testing, standardizes CTD formats. Quality, safety, efficacy. There are the standard robust guidances given in that. So it encourages the use of scientific industry benefit. It helps to develop the global sure. Even there is a guidance from the ECTD, how your PDF should be there, how the formatting is there, how much space from the index is there, everything, what font size, what font should be there, everything is in the guideline. I think this you must be knowing there are different climatic zones. So these are the different regulatory bodies. So what happens, every country, if you see the big companies, like after COVID, now we are fully packed with the audits. Every time site is busy in the GMP inspections because at the time, audit, nobody came for the inspections. There was just extensions to the GMP. So different authorities come for the inspections. Sometimes there is a word called as a desktop audit. What is desktop audit? Is that suppose my site is EU approved, some other companies or some other countries accept that GMP, and based on documentation they give the approval, GMP approval. So the validity of that GMP approval is always linked with the approval of the reference country. Similarly, there is a PICS approval. So PICS is a pharmaceutical inspection cooperation scheme. There are these blue highlighted countries are the part of PICS. So, PICS is an international organization that promotes the harmonized standards in the good manufacturing practices of the pharmaceutical product established in 1995, and it brings together the authorities and the inspector from the multiple countries. So my site is a PICS approved site. This country has approved my facility. All other countries will accept my site. So they will not come for the inspection. Objective is the harmonized GMP standards, improve cooperation among the inspectors, enhance the quality safety of the medicines, and training capacity building. So basically, it is based on EU GMP annexures and WHO GMP. It helps the mutual recognitions of the GMP. It includes importance is the regulatory confidence and the credibility, facilities, international market access. So this is just ICH is basically for the quality and documentation. PICS is mainly for the GMP. So this is overall regarding the regulatory. If you want me to clarify any particular thing, I'm happy to do that. Otherwise, the last section of my topic is a bit advanced one, like mergers, acquisitions, due diligence in the pharmaceutical industry. So apart from dossiers, the regulatory and the QA team is are also involved in such kind of activities. If you see, there are with the globalization and all, many times you must have heard the mergers and acquisitions are happening. Okay, what is merger? When the two companies merge together and they make a new company, that becomes a merger. What is acquisition? Is that when one company take over the other company, it becomes an acquisition. Due diligence is what whenever this merger acquisitions or happens, you have to review that what I am purchasing. I have to purchase an iPhone. First of all, I'll see whether it is often my required specifications or not. If the camera pixel is what is I want, okay, it is giving me that zoom. What is the money I have to pay for that? All these things, due diligence, you have to do it. So similarly, if I have to buy a company, I have to do the due diligence so that after I purchase and I find there is nothing in that, it is a problem. So due diligence is a comprehensive appraisal of a business by a prospective buyer. If I want to buy, I will review everything of them. In licensing is that I am a company, I want to take up XYZ product from other company. So that is in licensing. Out licensing is that I have a XYZ product and I give that to you for marketing. So what is the importance of mergers and acquisitions? It is basically for the pipeline enhancement. Pipeline enhancement means I am into a cardiac area, but I want to diversify, I want to enhance my pipeline. in the gastrointestinal area or neurological area. So that is a pipeline enhancement. Access the novel technology, market penetration, better market penetration, economics of scale. Challenges is the data transparency. You should have a clear data transparency. Cultural and language barriers, varying the regulatory requirements, tight timelines. It's very tight. When any merger acquisition happens, first of all, it is confidential. The timelines are very strict. You have to evaluate the documents within that particular timeline. Post-merger and acquisition, there is a phase of integration comes where the harmonized QMS, like if I take over some company, my systems are different, that company's systems are different. So we need to harmonize that. Regulatory alignment happens. About, like I said, marketing authorization, right? Suppose we sold our OTC portfolio Johnson Johnson in 2012. So after 2012, almost 2 years it takes to Johnson and Johnson to do the marketing authorization change, means to change the name from JB to Johnson and Johnson. It takes around, it's a minor variation of administrative variation, but lot of legal documentations and other things happens in that. Regulatory alignment, that is across training, joint audits and reviews. So when there is a lot of due diligence happen, the gap analysis. Gap analysis is like, suppose my product is registered 15 years back. That time the guidelines were different. Now the guidelines are different. The product is being commercialized very nicely and everything. But if any company or it is not only at the time of merger acquisitions, but as a company policy also at a regular frequency, you should go to do the gap analysis. Like the guidances have changed and all, and um, sometimes in every few years there comes a phase where you need to bring your products to certain levels. For example, in my case, yes, I take care of that region. We have the product registers from 1998 and all. We have a lifetime registration. Like, means there was a process of renewals for few years, like every 5 years I has to renew. And at a certain point, maybe after 15 years, they give me the lifetime registration. Means my product is registered for lifetime. I don't have to do any renewals and all. But then that was since long the products are registered and all. But then in Russia says there is called as a Eurasian, EAU, that is um, Eurasian Economic Union. So after that, what they did the validity. Whatever products are lifetime registered, their validity is only till December 2025. Okay. Till that 2025, I have to switch. As I said earlier, I has to give the files and all. So all the data with the authorities are in their files. Okay. I have to bring everything. I have the time of December 2025. Till that time, I have to convert all my documents to the ECTD, bring it to that particular standards, and get the approval again. So this happens, always will happen in particular period of time. So the gap analysis is very important. Sometimes what are the good things and all. Sometimes it happens there are certain gaps. What is registered and what is actually being done at a site. If there are any differences, that has to be identified and done the necessary corrective actions like file the variations or erase that particular gap at a site. Otherwise, during the GMP inspections, there can be a problem. I think I said this, what is due diligence. So due diligence becomes your financial, legal, technical, operations, regulatory, everywhere. So regulatory point of view, you have to ensure that your regulatory point of view, your documentation is proper. QA point of view, you have to see the GMP compliance, QMS compliance, audit reports are on proper. Validation qualification is on place. Okay. known as merger and acquisition, you should be, if I am good in case, let's say this Johnson Johnson case, I'm good in the Russia sales. My marketing hold is strong in the Russia sales, but J&J can be good in US, it can be good in US, EU also. So when they will review my document, they will review with respect to the global requirements. So that when they purchase this particular formula, they should be able to expand to other countries also. Also the status, this dossiers is called as intangible asset of the company. We don't see it as there, but it has a really, the value of the company is because of dossiers. So basically, what are the best practices for this particular thing is the early involvement of the QA. It is not always the financially I am getting good business and all, but that due diligence is important. But early involvement of the QA and RA is also important. Whether all the accreditations, regulations, everything is on case. Cross-functional collaboration, use of standard checklist, clear communication channels are very important. Tools and templates, like there should be all the checklists like due diligence, risk assessment, regulatory submission tracker should be in place. Integration project plan is also important. So I think I covered all my points. Again, I am coming back to the same first slide, maybe what are the skills. So I hope I able to convince you what are the why the skills are very important. Like why you should have the regulatory acumen, why you should have the analytical mindset, attention to details, communication and diplomacy, why you should have the project management skills, cross-functional collaboration, and problem solving. Uh, I've covered everything. Any questions? Whatever product we used to develop for USA and Russia CS. For example, we used to invest in the clinical studies, B studies, and other things. All those products used to be piggyback. Piggyback means I am developing my product for USA or Russia CS. The same products I will take to the ROW region. So, actually, everything is a packaging game afterward. So all those planning you have to take, you have to consider the lead time. Sometimes all my raw materials are Indian, one excipient comes from USA. So that lead time is 3 months. So all those things you need to consider while before launch. Everything should be there. The moment I get registration, I will start manufacturing. So that the gap between the registration and the launch is less. Okay. It's not like that I manufacture the batch and release immediately tomorrow there will be a launch. For example, the goods which we manufacture in India to reach USA or Europe or Russia it takes 3 months. See, the stability is also very important. Initially, in 6 months, you generally get a 2 years of shelf life. My marketing team will say, unless I get a 3 year life, I'll not sell. You do whatever you do. Because my half of the shelf life will go in the transit. So those things also has to be considered. There are different factors to decide on the launch. Even nowadays, we are working a lot on the food substitute products. Also, there is a very interesting in the with respect to medical devices. There is the new MDR has come now, which gives you cannot claim for the cure of the cough. And the claim of cure of the cough, then I have to go to the drug route. Then the process is longer, cost is longer. If it is a food supplement, I just have to inform to the authorities I can start. So that is the advantage. But in that case,